Hi friends, and welcome back to MV Stories. Today we'll look at a few Reddit stories, and if you like them, you can like, comment, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new videos. Today's story comes from the the A-hole subreddit. It was posted by Patient T9555 and was titled, "Am I the a-hole for asking my stepbrother to take eggs of the menu at his own wedding?" This is a throwaway account because both my stepbrother and his fiancée have read it. My stepbrother and his fiancée are getting married soon. It is a destination wedding. The destination is very hot. For some background, my stepbrother and his fiancée met at the gym about 7 years ago. Didn't start going out till about a year into their friendship and finally got engaged summer. They met through a mutual love for the gym, and with that comes a mutual love for protein. Here's the problem. I am allergic to a majority of animal protein, seafood, and eggs mostly. I'm also a little bit of a picky eater, but I believe that is my own problem, so I don't let it affect other people, in everyday situations obviously. Now I have known my stepbrother since he was 4. I obviously lived with him for many years, babysat him, drove him everywhere. I am 7 years older than him. We see each other as if we are blood related. For his wedding, I have done a lot of planning with him because I had a wedding myself, so I know how it goes. For their destination, they chose a beach, and the wedding will start before sunrise, so they can have the sun rise while the ceremony happens. It's super cute. I looked at the menu, and there will be literally nothing I can eat. 4 breakfast eggs Benedict on some sort of potato patty with either herbs or mushrooms on top. There will also be a seafood bar throughout the day, and course an alcoholic beverage bar. They hired a caterer to do all this, and the request for substitutions, I have to go through my stepbrother first, which is a no-brainer, and I have nothing against that. When I found out the plans for the food, I asked if I could have a substitute meal. He said no. I offered to pay for it. He said no, because I would just feel so guilty if I made you pay for your own meal at my wedding or something like that. To be honest, I'd rather pay for my own food than die. There are no fast food places around. My hotel doesn't start serving food till 8, and I'll be at the wedding still. I don't and literally can't go the whole day without food because I'm literally disabled. I have a connective tissue disorder. There are a lot of symptoms that come with it, and I need to eat or else I could get very sick and irritable. I understand why he might be upset by me asking for my own meal, because growing up I was really picky with my food. But now I try my best to eat what I can. Eggs give me a rash and the shits. Seafood gives me anaphylaxis, but only when I eat it, so I can still touch it and be fine. It's a kind of mild allergy, but I can still die if left untreated. Having an alternative or just replacing the eggs with something else would make my life so much easier. My husband is on my side, obviously, but the rest of my family, while still concerned about my allergies, thinks I should just suck it up. So, am I the a-hole for asking my stepbrother to take eggs off the menu at his own wedding? Edit. There are hors d'oeuvres at the wedding that do not have seafood in them. My options are pickles and spinach dip with crackers. There's also cream cheese. Relevant comments. OP on skipping meals at the wedding. OP says, "I'm disabled. Skipping meals in the heat can kill me." Commenter 1 says, "To be honest, I thought this would be one of those things where someone just didn't want to eat what was on the menu. But in your case, you literally cannot eat any of the foods. Why can your stepbrother not just let you have something that you can eat? He might feel bad, but at least you'd be able to eat something. Surely you can be an exception." Opie replied, "He said that I can eat some of the hors d'oeuvre from the seafood bar, but I don't think that will be enough." Commenter 2 says, "You said in your post there is literally nothing you can eat. Now you're saying there are foods you can eat." Yes, the a-hole. Opie replied, "There are pickles I can eat, that's literally it. Technically, due to contamination, I shouldn't be eating this either." Commenter 2 says, "So your brother wants you to only eat pickles at his wedding?" Opie replied, "Basically yes, and artichoke dip." Opie on calling the caterer directly to figure out the meal accommodations if her brother doesn't want to deal with this. Opie says, "I will be doing that at some point. I'm going to have a sit-down convo with him and his fiancée about this. Also, there are other people going to the wedding who might need meal subs. I'll talk to them, see if they have asked yet, and if so, what he told them. I'm really confused on what's going on with him. I tend to dance around ideas when I'm talking to people, so maybe he didn't clock what I was trying to say. But I might give an update on Monday. I'm going to talk to him either tomorrow or next week just to see if maybe he's just not understanding what I'm saying. Most of my conversations with him was over the phone or text. Commenter 3 says, I think you need to be a bit more assertive. This isn't me being picky. I'm allergic to eggs. It will be a bad time for everyone if I eat eggs. I'm willing to talk to the caterer and pay for my meal to not make your wedding about me absolutely shitting myself because of eggs. This doesn't have to be hard on anyone. I need to eat and it can't be eggs. Opie replied, Thank you for this. I really appreciate hearing this kind of advice. Smiley face. Commenter 4 says, Yes, the a-hole bring your own food if you're that picky/allergic, and there truly will be no other food available at the venue, which is unlikely, but I seriously doubt that every single dish has eggs or seafood. You don't ask someone to change their entire menu just for you. Opie replied, It's not a venue, it's a beach, a tent, and a catering service. Clarification update. I wanted to come on here, clear some things up, and answer some questions. First of all, thank you everyone for your opinions, both positive and negative. I understand that people don't really like picky eaters or enjoy having to go out of their way to help someone who has my issues. And I wanted to confirm that my title was clickbait, and I am extremely apologetic for that. It won't happen again, I am sorry. My further titles will be 100% to the point. Now, for the question, am I karma fishing? No, I'm not karma fishing. This is not my actual account, so karma fishing on this account would take me nowhere. This account will be scrapped after I solve my issue. Can I bring my own food? This question was more of a statement, less of a question a lot of times, but I will end up bringing my own food if it comes down to that. Does my brother hate me? No, I don't think he does. His response to me asking for a substitution was very out of character. This entire situation has been very weird, and I'm excited for it to be over. Am I faking my disabilities or allergies? No, I am not. I'm allergic to seafood, shellfish, and fish, and have a sensitivity to eggs. They make me shit and vomit. And I'm not faking my disabilities. Saying that someone is faking their disability is insanely disrespectful. I didn't want to be specific to what I have just for personal reasons, but I have POTS along with EDS and some other smaller issues. Here is a more in-depth rundown to the conversation we had on the phone. I asked, so what kind of food are you going to be having at the wedding? To which he responded and told me about the breakfast and the seafood after. I asked him about substitutions for anyone who is allergic, and he said he wasn't sure about substitutions, and he was probably going to have to run with no for right now. I told him that people weren't going to be too happy with that answer, and that at my own wedding, I had to make multiple different substitutions. I said that I would be more than happy to pay for those substitutions if he needed it. To that he replied that he would feel bad for me to have to pay for substitutions. I'm having a sit-down conversation with him on Saturday, so y'all will be getting an actual update by them. I'd love any advice on what to say to him. This situation has been so confusing for me. Thank you all. Relevant comments. Commenter says, so you're mildly allergic to eggs? Your body vomiting the eggs is an allergic reaction. I found this out because I have a mild allergy to shrimp and nuts. And you're allergic to seafood and shellfish, but you just said that's his whole menu. I can't say if he hates you, but this makes it sound like he doesn't want you at the wedding. I'm not sure why POTS or EDS would be an issue. I would see where his head is at and say I'm not going for my own safety because it is. If he's like, great, okay, this was a good talk, he didn't want you to go. However, if he's like, why can't you go? Then he's not seeing that you have allergies. Honestly, I wouldn't go personally because I know the feeling of your throat swelling and not being able to breathe and being in the hospital with all sorts of machines around me. Good luck. Opie replied, POTS and EDS, editor's note. Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is an issue because they make me severely prone to dehydration, blood sugar drops, and blood pressure drops. I have fainted in the past, and not going without eating a big enough meal for this long could cause me to faint. There is even a possibility of death. Dizziness and severe brain fog are also symptoms. Commenter 2 says, does he know you're allergic to eggs and seafood? The way you described the conversation was you asking about people with allergies instead of saying that you have an allergy. Just tell him you're allergic, and in order to attend, you will need a different meal and that you're happy to pay for it. If he says no, then you tell him that you're sorry he feels that way, but since he would like to continue to be alive, you will not be able to attend. Opie replied, "He does know I'm allergic to seafood and eggs. We've been siblings for a long time." I said that in my OG post. Update 1. It's Saturday, y'all. Here's the update you guys have been waiting for. After I made the original post, I talked to my aunt, who is also going to the wedding. She has a dairy allergy. I asked her if she had talked to them about food at the wedding, and she said she had, and they were fairly understanding and explained to her that the only part of the food she might have to substitute would be the hollandaise sauce, and she would just not eat cream cheese from the hors d'oeuvres. And butter for any seafood is on the side. They were fully supportive in giving her the substitution she needs. So Confused Me gave my aunt the rundown on what I had experienced, and she was just as puzzled as I was. Today, I had a sit-down conversation with him, asked about the food situation. I asked why he said no about my substitutions. He wouldn't give me a straight answer. I asked why everyone else who wanted substitutions got them. Again, he wouldn't give me a straight answer. But when I brought up paying for my own substitutions, oh, did he talk? He said that the whole not wanting to let me pay for my own substitutions was just a misunderstanding. He thought that I meant I wanted to pay for everyone's substitutions. I would be fine with if that was something I had to do by the way, but he didn't want me doing that. Of course, I understand. The last question I asked was, if accommodations were available, why was I the only person being told no? I told him that I talked to our aunt, and I know that her food substitution was granted. He then danced around that topic as well, saying stuff like, well, you know, Ani, she can get anything she wants. You know how she is. Basically making a joke about our aunt being a Karen. Not my favorite thing to hear. Finally, I just said I would be more than happy to talk to the caterer myself if that was necessary. That's when he got quiet. Then he asked me not to contact the caterer. I was so confused and still am. The more I pushed for answers, the more uncomfortable he became. Finally, after about 5 minutes of going in circles, he admitted that he knew substitutions were possible. Obviously, me and him both knew this already. Apparently, the caterer had offered allergy accommodations, which is what my aunt told me as well. Not only that, but several guests had already requested modifications to their meals, my aunt being one of them. That's when things got even weirder. He told me that his fiancée had specifically mentioned me when they were discussing dietary restrictions. Apparently, she thought my dietary restrictions were annoying. He said he tried to convince her that it wasn't a big deal, but she shut down any further discussion about it. I told him that I had medical needs and I can't be in the heat without food. Therefore, I do not feel comfortable attending. He got really frantic and said he'll talk to her. I told him I was going to talk to her anyways. He got weird about that too. I also made sure that he knew even if I wasn't going, I would still continue to help with the planning, which didn't really calm him down. I just left after that. This entire situation is getting weirder and weirder. I'm going to talk to his fiancée next, probably tomorrow. But for now, the saga continues. IG. Thanks for the support and suggestions. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, just don't go. For real. His wifey-to-be doesn't like you and doesn't care if you're going without food. I would never celebrate the union of such a couple. Commenter 2 says, I reckon it is not the wife-to-be, but the stepbrother. I bet there is some weird resentment about special treatment from when they were younger. Opie replied, I don't know about special treatment. I'm quite a bit older than him. I also don't think his fiancée dislikes me. We get along nicely. She's very lovely to be around. Commenter 3 says, is there any reason your stepbrother may have to resent you? Even a very petty reason? Do you get more attention from parents because of your medical issues? Are you considered the successful child? Did your family avoid eating your allergens, and now he might hold a grudge over it? I find his dancing around the questions to be very odd. You can talk to his fiancée, but I'm genuinely wondering if this isn't his decision and his way of somehow getting payback for some imagined slight. Opie replied, not really. I got diagnosed with most of my medical issues around grade 2, so I didn't know him yet. I'm not particularly successful. I'm not poor. I work in an art field, so you can probably imagine how that's going right now. I really hope this isn't payback for anything because I don't see a reason behind it. I'm older than him. I basically took care of him all the time, aside from one weekends when my mom and stepdad weren't working. Commenter 4 says, it's sad that your brother would marry someone so rude and lacking compassion. It's up to you to go to the wedding or not. The future does not look bright for your relationship with your brother. Sometimes it happens that way. My sister-in-law and her mother hated me. It went on for years until she cheated on him and they got a divorce, and then my brother and I were closer than ever. So you never know. Opie replied, what I don't understand, though, is why she hates me. Me and my husband have been friends with her for years. It makes no sense. Commenter 5 says, I'm sorry, but it sounds like they just don't want you to go and the fiancé has issues with you. Just don't go. Don't even bother talking to her. Opie replied, I'm not planning on going if they don't want me to go. I'm in a place right now where I don't feel respected. I put a lot of work into helping them now and over the years. I'm really confused on what's going on. I could be oblivious, but I see no reason for either of them to dislike me. I've known both of them for years, obviously. My stepbrother is my brother. I was almost always taking care of him when he was a kid. And his fiancée has been a friend of mine even before they were dating. This entire thing makes no sense. I'm so confused. Commenter 6 says, well, will there be egg and everything? What specifically can you not eat? Opie replied, I'm not 100% sure what the entire event is going to look like food-wise, because that's not where I was helping. I just recently got a rundown of what the food is going to look like. It was just what they told me. The only things that won't have egg in it are the little potato patty with mushrooms that I mentioned in my first post, and some artichoke dip with crackers and cream cheese and pickles. Commenter 7 says, why on earth would you go talk to the fiancé about this? Respectfully, that is absolutely not your place. Let him deal with her. Your relationship is with him. If he'd rather capitulate than stand up for your legitimate medical needs to ensure you could be a part of his wedding, then that should tell you everything you need to know. Also, WTF, do you mean you're going to keep helping these people? Girl, no. They can't give basic respect for your health. They don't deserve your money or your time. Opie replied, I didn't mention this, but there are a lot of people asking about it. But I was friends with the fiancé before my brother and her got together. I was the one that introduced them. Commenter 8 says, if you go, please bring an EpiPen with you just in case the sweet and lovely bride accidentally gets seafood in your food. I wouldn't trust that one. Opie replied, I absolutely will be bringing an EpiPen. I always bring one in my bag that I keep all of my other fun medical gadgets in. In that department, I am safe. Opie on accepting their health issues. Opie says, as a disabled person, I have learned to accept no my entire life. I've also learned to speak up for myself when it is necessary, and I truly believe that this is a point where it is necessary. I'm going to try my best to help myself without needing others as I've done my entire life. This isn't disappointment. This is just me trying to not have a medical emergency at someone else's wedding. Update 2. I know I said I was going to update y'all after I talked to the fiancé, but things got a little too hectic with work and this stuff, so I forgot. To start off, I did go and talk to. I called her, and we had an odd conversation. I asked if I could have the substitutions, and she said that she would not be able to do that for me. I told her that I could pay for myself. She said no. I asked her why, and she said that the accommodation that I was too random. Also, she said I was, and I quote, strong enough to handle some eggs, whatever that means, and that I could just deal with it myself. I explained to her that there was absolutely nothing at the wedding I could eat other than pickles and artichoke dip, which is not enough sustenance to last me the hot day. She told me to stop complaining and suck it up. How kind of her. I was very taken back by this, because we've been really friendly over the years that I've known her. In fact, I knew her before my brother and her got together, because she was a part of my husband's friend group and still is. I was the one who actually set up her and my brother up, which is another reason why I offered to help with their wedding. I called my brother again and asked him what the hell was going on because I had a very odd and somewhat disrespectful conversation with his fiancée. He made up an excuse saying everyone is stressed and that wedding planning is stressful, which it is 100% true, and things got blown out of proportion. But I still can't figure out why I was the only person who got a different answer. On Monday, I finally just took all of your advice and sent my brother a message where it said I would bring my own food, and if that was a problem, I wouldn't come. As much as I love him, I live my health, and respect a little more. Left me on open for about 6 hours, then wrote back, "That's fine, just don't make it too noticeable, please." And that was the last I heard of him for a bit. But on Friday after work, I went out with one of my best friends who is in the same friend group as my husband and the fiancée, but I've been friends with her for a long time. Basically, me, her, and her sister were childhood friends, but she only met my husband and that friend group in college. Anyways, she told me that the fiancé and my husband had a very minor talking stage relationship sort of thing during college, but that ended as fast as it started. My friend, being her gossipy self, said that she thinks my brother's fiancé might still be in love with my husband. I didn't think that was true till I was jokingly telling my husband about what our friend said, and my husband said he believes that could be a possibility. What? So I asked to take a look at their private messages. And well, she is messaging him almost every day. Despite them being in the same friend group, he isn't insanely close with her. So these messages are him either having casual, polite conversation, short conversation about shared plans or interests, or him ignoring her. I didn't go all the way back, but from what I can see, there's nothing weird going on. I trust my husband with my whole heart and believe he is loyal. From this point on, I'm not really sure what to do. There's no real proof that my friend's intuition is what's actually going on, and I truly believe this situation to be one big misunderstanding. I don't even care about the food. I'll bring my own. Anyways, just let me know, what should I do now? I've basically given up. Edit. I think I confused everyone with how my brother and his fiancée met. So first of all, ignore the wording of my posts in general. I introduced them because I invited my brother to a get-together that me and my husband were having. I didn't introduce them with the intent of them ending IL together because there's an age gap. But at that gathering, they started as gym buddies and worked their way to getting married soon. I didn't mention the fact that I introduced them because that wasn't important at the time. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "I know family is important to you, but it sounds like you're not important to them. Good luck." Opie replied, "Thank you. They truly are so important." Commenter 2 says, "Do you have the kind of relationship with your stepbrother that you, or better your husband, could let him know that his fiancée is attention-seeking in that way?" Opie replied, "I might get my husband to tell him, because he never told me they had that kind of relationship in the past, and I wouldn't have set my brother up with her if I had have known. So it's the least he could do." Commenter 3 says, "Warn your brother, then back away. Give him receipts. Then back with the fuck up. Don't attend that wedding, would be my advice. And tell your husband to block this nutty dame." Opie replied, "I just wish I had receipts. All I have is whispers that they were once together." Commenter 4 says, "Sorry, your brother's fiancée has been texting your husband for months. Is thought to be possibly still and over with him. He sometimes texts back, and you are unaware of how often she texts him? I think that is something he should have mentioned that to you, even if her texts were mundane." Opie replied, "They've been friends longer than I've been with him. So I was expecting them to have conversations. It just looked a little desperate on her part since they don't hang out outside family gatherings in the friend group. Also, with my newfound knowledge that they once were together, things looked a little more sinister." Commenter 5 says, "Info. Brother's fiancée is texting her husband daily? Why didn't he ask her about your meal in the first place?" Opie replied, "Because it's my issue, not his. I think this is either me thing or a disabled person thing, but I don't really like when people ask things for me. I like to be at the table when discussing my own issues." The second story is from Am I the A-Hole subreddit. It was posted by a Mythithrow and was titled, "Am I the A-Hole for threatening to sue my parents for taking out student loans in my name? I graduated college 4 years ago, and I rarely speak to my mother or father. Maybe 2 to 3 times a year, and even then it's only for a few minutes. They refused to let me play sports in high school or have a social life, and they've basically cut me out of their lives since I and about 75 other people got a city drinking ticket 7 years ago in college. Since I live about 800 miles away, I only go back to my hometown once a year, either for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Most years I stay with a friend or at a hotel. Last year I stayed with my parents. No way in hell am I going back for either this year. Just about 5 months before I graduated college, my parents bought a boat. I know they got a good deal on it, and they have used it a lot. They took it out of the water for the season in early October. I've literally never seen it in person, just pictures from Facebook. Last week I had texted my father, first contact since March, and let him know I would be able to make it back for Christmas. About a minute later he called, and over the course of 5 minutes explained how he and my mother decided, since their last child was about through college, they would buy a boat. The only problem was they didn't have the $20,000 to buy it. What was their solution? Take out a student loan in my name, of course. My mailing address was always their house through college, so I was none the wiser. Why was my dad telling me about it now, 4 years after the fact? Because they can't pay it back. They actually never paid any of it back. They kept putting it in forbearance, but that ran out early this year. Fast forward 7 or 8 missed payments later, and my dad tells me the only reason he's telling me now is because he doesn't want me to bring it up at Christmas, and he knows it's going to default in a month or 2. His exact words were, "If you're going to make a big deal about this, it's best if you don't come home this year." He also said it's about $25,000 is what I would need to pay it off. I hung up and just sat in shock for a couple of minutes. I called my brother yesterday and told him what was happening and that I think I'm going to sue them for whatever it takes to pay off the loan. I still don't know what that amount is yet. I should probably find out by next week. I'm cool with my brother, and he's cool with my parents, and I'm sure he probably talked to them, because this morning I get a text from my mom just saying, "Do not sue us." I texted her back, saying she would need to immediately pay off the entire loan and show me proof. She texts back that I need to grow up. Obviously, I'm not even going to respond to that. The boat is probably worth half of what they paid for it by now, and with the hours they've put on it. I don't know if they have the money or not to pay up immediately if I sue them, but I figure I can at least garnish their wages. My other brother called and asked me to hold off a few months before doing anything, that it was shitty of them to do that, but to give them a chance to start paying it off. Relevant comments. D. DeSelder 15 says, "Not the a-hole. 1,000,000 times not the a-hole. But I'm going to show you how you don't even have to sue them, because what they did is extremely illegal. Your parents are the assholes and horrible ones at that. You and are going to solve this problem, though, one step at a time. You don't have to wait until next week to see what you owe. Annual Credit Report.com gives you a credit report from all 3 of the credit agencies free once a year. If you want to see how it's hurt your credit score and get notifications anytime things are added, taken off, or your score changes, you could try a score and tracking service like this. File a police report, which I'm putting in big bold letters, because you have to get the police involved unless you want to deal with this for years and have to live with the missed payments on your credit. Most police officers have seen it before, and they'll see it again. Be sure to mention the boat in all of this. If they bought a freaking boat just weeks after the money was loaned out, they look incredibly guilty. Make the report and get a copy of the report when they say it's ready. If the police or the county decide to pursue it, your parents are going to get charged with a felony. They aren't going to tell the police to grow up when they show up at their doorstep with a summons or a warrant. If you aren't willing to do this, then enjoy paying the loan back or dealing with bad credit for a decade or more, because student loans aren't even dischargeable in bankruptcy. Send the loan company the report and send the credit agencies the report. You want everyone involved to know that you aren't responsible for this loan. 99.9% of the time, they'll drop the loan from your credit within a couple of months. At least you'll be able to tell your mom that you won't be suing them, because the student loan company will be suing them and the county might be prosecuting them at the same time. As far as the relationship with your parents goes, I'd say good riddance for a long time, because once they get a hint that you are standing up for yourself from either the police or the lender, shit will meet fan. I don't know much about your parents or their backstory, but from what you've said, it sounds like your parents have real issues. Maybe this will give them a kick in the rear to start being decent human beings, or they'll try to turn other family members against you for it. Edit. Lots of excellent advice in the comments. Yeah, the parents are getting in trouble, but they might stay out of jail. I would also recommend checking out these subreddits r/StopItTheft and r/personalfinance. Athrowingway says, "I'm an attorney who works with a lot of financial services companies. I cannot emphasize enough. File a police report immediately and do not agree to any kind of repayment plan. You don't want to accept any responsibility for this debt, because it will make your case infinitely more complicated. Don't wait to take steps to absolve yourself of all of this. The longer you wait, the more problems it will create for you. Update. This update has a happy ending of sorts. Basically, what happened is that I did end up having to make a police report about what happened. My parents weren't arrested, but they were charged with deceptive practice. As part of a negotiated deal, they agreed to become responsible for the debt, and they received 12 months of court supervision. The student loan company removed the loans from my name, then made it clear they planned on suing my parents and myself. My parents for obvious reasons and myself because I benefited from the crime, my degree. My parents and I spoke to a lawyer who agreed that they probably could come after me for at least some of the debt. Our lawyer and their in-house counsel came up with a deal that basically said if I paid half myself, they'd forever give up their right to sue me or try to collect the other half from me. I wasn't crazy about the deal, but it's cheaper than going to court, where I'd likely be found to be jointly liable with my parents for the full $25,000 in attorney fees. I paid my part of it 3 months ago, and it's like I've never had student loans. Nothing on my record at all regarding it. My parents sold the boat for a loss and are making payments on the remainder of the balance. They've apologized to me pretty profusely about it, and I do think they are remorseful. As a cherry on top, my brother told me they opened a credit card in his name around the same time they took out the student loans. He only found out after going to purchase a house, and the loan officer asked him about it. That was paid off in full before he found out about it, though. I speak to my parents maybe once a month now, more than in the past, and our relationship is still fairly cool, but not nearly as bad as what it was. Also, I definitely did not go to Christmas last year. I think I will be going this year, though. Final comments. Tabby Fox Hollow says, "You actually speak to your parents more now than before? What the fuck?" Sammers 510 says, "This should be the main takeaway. Holy fucking shit, how crazy do you have to be to let these people back in your life? They're sorry now? Now that they were in trouble and legally required to make amends financially? What happened to grow up?" And he ended up having to pay half. I wonder if he's going to be surprised the next time his parents F him or his brother over. I said WHIP says, "After all of this, how is your credit score?" Ope replied, "Pretty good. No judgment, no collections. The student loan account is gone like I never had it." Bruh 31198 says, "You're awesome for giving an update. Where's the juicy stuff? Did they apologize? You're thinking of going for Christmas this year. Are you just super forgiving or what? I'd be beyond pissed, and maybe I'm just petty, but I don't think I'd forgive something so selfish and rude. Your mom telling you to grow up for being mad about them, basically stealing $25,000 from you and lying about it? That's blood-boiling territory." Ope replied, "They did apologize, and I think they really did realize how it could have really fucked up my life." Editor's note 2. In the comments, lots of lawyers were saying Opie got screwed on the deal, and his parents' lawyer should not have represented both parties. Chantilly Lace 9 says, "I'm an attorney in this area of law and vehemently disagree with that attorney's advice. You had a degree before all this, which completely destroys that argument of benefiting from this. You did not benefit with a degree because of this loan and should definitely not be jointly liable. I don't think that was a happy ending at all, and I would have loved to handle this case. Sorry you got screwed, but your parents, and it sounds like your lawyer too." Blood Up says, "Notice it wasn't his lawyer. He and his parents went to the same lawyer. That lawyer, presumably hired by OP's parents, conveniently decided that OP should pay up, which coincidentally benefits his paying clients substantially." Chantilly Lace 9 says, "Yes, it was our lawyer, which makes me think OP's parents hired the lawyer and told OP that their lawyer would help them too. Super shady." Edit regarding why I may have been found jointly liable. My parents paid 50% of my rent my senior year of college. I also, unhappily while interviewing, lived with them for half a year after school. They asked for half and wiped it off of my credit forever. It's more than 50% of rent, but I was done with it. I have a decently paying job now and wanted to move on. I did a crappy job of wording it, but they sold the boat for $9,000, paid to the lender. I paid $8,000, a little more than what half of my rent was, and they're making payments on their $8,000. Apologies for not being more clear. Edit 2. Alright, maybe I should have gotten a different lawyer. I just wanted it to go away with no lawsuit. Looking like that was short-sighted. Overall, I'm okay with it. I never paid my parents back for the 50% rent in college. They were just going to let it be. I feel like I've made up for that now. Really good advice in this comment if you're worried about it happening to you. Just don't get a shitty lawyer.